Good evening, Internet.
Hello.
Yeah. Ooh, abrupt end to the theme music. Good evening, Internet. You are watching the Non-Pro TV Party Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. recap show. I'm your host, Frank, joined not at all in studio by Matt.
Hello.
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
Non-Pro's TV Party, we do a live Google plus Hangout series where we geek out about our favorite television shows and invite you all to join along. We're not just recapping TV, we are late to the party with it. In this episode, we are going to, it's long overdue, we're going to talk about the mid-season finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the second season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., just in case you're in like some sort of time warp and you don't know what year it is, or if you've been pulled into Jumanji, in What They Become, as Ward has captured Sky and Coulson's team faces off against Hydra in the ancient alien city. Nothing will ever be the same again. Because Inhumans! That's actually what should have been the TV guide synopsis. Because Inhumans. How good does it feel to finally be able to say that? Like, definitively.
It really does feel good. I know I've been reading lots before this episode, lots of crazy discussion. There's this one conversation I was following where this one guy was insistent, absolutely insistent, that they weren't going to pull the trigger on Inhumans. And once they revealed it, everybody was having such a great time watching him eat crow over it. And the sad thing is, initially, right after the initial reveal, he still tried to say, "Oh, I still don't believe it." But
all right.
But
yeah, it would have been pushing it really. So here's one of the things. S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is an interesting show in that we've said this before, it's basically a mystery show. It's that kind of format where there's something unknown going on in the background. Famous mystery shows are like, I guess Lost would probably be the most famous one, but there's been a lot of series recently that have that kind of idea where, in a way, Walking Dead has aspects of it, and so does Game of Thrones, even though there's like a bunch of books already out. The idea that there's this big plot that we're moving towards, but in some vague way we don't really know. Walking Dead definitely has its criticisms about it. Game of Thrones, again, like 4 books later, people are like, this story is just meandering. And Lost finished, and people are still upset about it. The thing about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is that for a mystery show, they tell us things, and the plot is definitely moving forward, and that is unusual. Like, I don't know what to do with that.
It's kind of, I feel like it's a kind of a breath of fresh air, and I mean, I don't know, for me personally, like, I'm just enjoying what we have because who knows how long this series is gonna last. Right. So I feel like maybe that's the creators kind of feel that way as well. So they want to keep everything moving forward and try to keep things nice and tidy. So if by the end, like whenever they have to end, it can be seen as kind of like a complete show rather than just left off, never to be heard from again.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways of doing this poorly. Marvel, I mean, one of the benefits of coming out of like a big publishing house is that they're really good at telling these kinds of stories. So, like, episodic television has become very comic book-y in not recent years, in the last decade or so. Like, very serial and like arc-focused. You get that even like before, like Heroes and Lost and a lot of TV shows had very much a comic book feel beyond the genre. And I guess, you know, if you get enough people who cut their teeth in the genre, then you get good writing. And despite the fact that a lot of the naysayers who aren't watching the show say like, oh, you'll never know what happens next, it's too slow or whatever, we get a lot of stuff. So I mean, in the mid-season finale, we did uncover the fact that there are Inhumans amongst us, but besides that, let's actually get into what the meat of the episode was about. So I think the last part, they'd come across the ancient alien city, and I'm going to turn off my lower thirds because it's just screaming non-productive underneath me. Hey. All right. But yeah, they came to the ancient alien city, and we had a man down. Mac has been possessed. Mac is my favorite new character to the series. Like, new hero, I guess I would say.
Yeah, he's definitely been a favorite, and I really like him too. I think I really love his dynamic with Fitz, um, and I really like his dynamic with all pardon me, the entire cast. He just doesn't interact with Fitz. He interacts with everybody, and I like the chemistry he has with the existing team and the other newcomers to the team. And I feel like there's lots to tell that we see, especially in the last few episodes of his story. And yeah, I'm glad that he's around.
I'm a little bit more invested than I was in Bobby and Hunter. Specifically, and can't remember if it was this episode or the one before him, where they mentioned that she does something on the side, and does anyone know about what it is? I think I did say, I think it was an episode ago, because I was
In
like,
last episode.
she's definitely superheroing on the side. She's costume superheroing on the side. That would be awesome. But Max still is one of my, primarily because of the way he stepped in with the Fitz relationship, the Fitz and Simmons really. On that point, we got a lot more. I mean, Fitzsimmons was the relationship people were, I think, most interested in this season. Even though they didn't get a lot of screen time, but we got a lot of it this episode. What did you end up thinking about that?
It was their confrontation. I felt the tension there, and just seeing them both kind of like let it all out. I guess as much as they did, even though I'm pretty sure there's still lots of stuff unsaid and that needs to be dealt with. It felt nice seeing that like Simmons and Fitz kind of explain to each other instead of like the rest of the cast what their feelings are and what they're thinking about their whole entire relationship. And I feel like some of the tension between them has been released, and I think they're starting to work a lot better together, slowly and kind of slowly working back towards their season one relationship, but not the same way, because obviously the relationship is different, but kind of reaching that level of friendship that we saw in season one. So
Yeah.
it's I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen with it, but I'm still pretty invested in to see what happens with Fitzsimmons.
I feel like the things like we're meta afraid of is that Fitz suddenly gets better because it's TV, and usually it's usually it's one episode before he starts getting better or getting superpowers as a result of brain injury. I do feel like he's being more competent, but he still has the same issues he's dealing with. I think the other thing is the whole, well, things got better the way it was, and Fitz and Simmons are in this kind of awkward, geeky kind of relationship where Fitz clearly likes Simmons and Simmons isn't really even aware of Fitz. I feel like that they have changed. Like, I felt really awkward. Like, I liked the fact that they were dealing with it, and it was good to see, but it felt really uncomfortable because I feel like I don't know if that relationship will ever get fixed. I think it's a little damaged and damaging. I feel like at one point or other there's the need to fix each other, and that's not a good friendship or a partnership. And I'm not saying, like, I don't know what they're gonna do with this, and that's kind of interesting to me. Like, it's a relationship where it's not telegraphed. I don't know what's happening. It's a realistic relationship. It feels like they're playing a little bit with the whole friend zone thing, because Fitz would definitely be a kind of guy who would complain about being friend zoned theoretically in the real world. I like what they're playing with, and I do like the fact that there's a lot in there that we haven't seen yet. Which is, it has to make up some of the slack, because without Ward being in any way an acceptable member of the team, there's no way you're gonna pull that out. Which thankfully they haven't. He hasn't swarmed his way into the episode. Although this is the most we've gotten to see Ward interact with Coulson's team by kidnapping Skye, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he immediately, immediate payoffs. Ward and Skye end up going to meet the Doctor, who at this point is what we're calling Kyle MacLachlan's character. And that was another pretty intense scene, specifically Skye versus meeting her dad. Did you have any feelings about that?
I mean, I think we say this every episode, but Kyle MacLachlan absolutely kills it as the Doctor, who I guess can we reveal the name? I guess we can reveal the name.
Yeah,
People
sure.
have already watched it. Yeah, if who we find out his name is Cal,
Hmm.
um, and you could tell that he really loves his daughter, but he's also really unstable and kind of nuts. And how he talks about like at the end where he says like I'm like this has been a wonderful day to finally meet my daughter,
Yeah, he's
but now
seeing.
I'm going to get the chance to kill the guy that screwed me over.
Yeah.
And like yeah, that best day ever line. I think that's in the running for like line of the season for me.
Yeah, it's like he sees, like he's got a very optimistic viewpoint of things at this point. Like it's an incredibly awkward meeting with Sky, who he calls Daisy.
Mm.
He tells her name. I want to get back to that in a little bit. And like it's the best day ever because he gets his daughter back and he gets to murder the person who screwed with him. I'm gonna go. I think this is now appropriate time to bring it up. I don't think Cal is that bad a guy. I don't think he did that much wrong. I hate to say this. I'm on team Cal McLaughlin. I am all in favor of this character. Okay, so like let me recap. His wife is captured by a Nazi
Mhm.
and experimented on.
Mm.
We have our illustrious co-host James calling me in. I'm gonna put him up on speakerphone.
All right.
Hello, James. Can you hear me? Yeah, we're doing our hangout.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Do you want to be call? You want to dial in?
Sure, yeah, give me a second.
All right, cool. You should have your invite. If not, message me on Hangout and I'll send you the direct link. I'm in the middle of being I'm forgiving the doctor for the mass murder he's committed.
I agree. Forgive him.
Oh.
Forgive him all the him.
Good. I want you on my team. Good. All right. See you in a bit, hopefully. So yeah, so basically we see him. His wife is captured by Nazis, experimented on live vivisection apparently,
Right.
and killed. And she's experimented on like a lot. Like it's
Yeah.
once and then again years later, also further experiment that result in her death.
Yeah.
His child is taken from him by this same organization. I mean, don't think it's S.H.I.E.L.D. and S.H.I.E.L.D. are always good guys. Remember, S.H.I.E.L.D. is like 50% Hydra. It seems more like
Literally.
90% Hydra,
Yeah.
but whatever. So he knows that the Nazis, I'm going to keep referring to them as Nazis, the Nazis infiltrated this government organization. They kidnapped this child. He's under a lot of stress. I think
Yeah.
what we see him do is not that horrible. Like, what we saw him do, at one point he was in a bathtub covered in blood. A little weird, but we don't know what that was about. The thing that turns Sky against him more than anything is him butchering a bunch of people who had gone to him as like this mob doctor.
Right.
We didn't really know anything about them. I think they were criminals. I think they had been injured.
Yeah, they were like doing like a robbery or something.
Yeah.
Like they robbed a store and one of them got shot, and they went to him.
I mean, I'm not saying that justifies them being murdered, but I'm saying that I guess I am saying it justifies. It's not that bad. It's not that big a deal. It's just a couple of goons who got.
What's the?
She doesn't know anything about why he did what he did. I don't know. I just feel like it's not super horrible. It's just sort of horrible. And then later on, we see him nick Tripp's artery. But like he had that covered. He knew nothing bad was going to happen, probably.
I mean, compared to our other villains, which we have the literal Nazi, Whitehall,
Yeah.
and then we have Ward, who at this point has killed a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, killed a Koenig, apparently killed his parents and his brother. In comparison to that, Cal doesn't seem so bad, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, I still think. I mean, I guess he's supposed to be. I mean, I could be sympathetic with Cal with his plight, but I don't think we're still supposed to like him necessarily.
Yeah, he's a bad guy
He
to
is a
some.
bad guy, but he is, I guess you could really call him an anti-hero, sort of, kinda.
Yeah, I just think he has a lot more going for him. Going for him. Sounds like he's getting a job interview. I definitely understand. He's one of those villains where you're like, I have compassion for this villain.
That's really cool. That is really awesome.
Yeah. When you get Whitehall, on the other hand, like there's nothing about Whitehall that's redeemable.
No.
Um, Garrett, I did like Garrett a lot, but I mean Garrett and even Ward, like I just they're like they've done serious harm to you directly or your friends directly.
Mm.
With Sky, she found like evidence, circumstantial evidence of her father killing some people. I mean, I guess what the difference is that we're being led, like the actors are telling us, but we're not seeing it. I mean, this show is pretty brutal, but there's a limit to what they can show us,
Right.
and it's entirely possible that from what we know about who Cal is now, the villain he is, I think his name is Mr. Hyde or just Hyde.
Right.
Who honestly I don't know much about. It's Mr. Hyde, but he's like modeled after Jekyll and Hyde, like a brutal, vicious monster of a doctor. So you can imagine that those bodies that Sky saw were mutilated.
Right.
In which case, you kind of understand why she would be a little worried about that being daddy dear. But yeah, Kyle MacLachlan really does deliver the crazy but still like semi-sympathetic, like just fun to watch crazy. It's not camp crazy. It's you have to if you've seen it already, and I hope you have. Watch it. It's really cool. Even you have made animated GIFs of this, Matt, and you
Yeah.
can see his lines. The best day ever. It's so good. It's very, very cool.
Mm.
Yes. All right. So we should probably move on from my love of this butchering monster. We found out Sky's name, Daisy.
Yes.
So here's another interesting. I said I wanted to go back on this. We're finding out characters' names here, and there's two aspects. One, I did not at any point stop watching to look these characters up, which surprised me because when like Justice. You ever seen Justice League Unlimited?
I have not, unfortunately. I know our fellow co-host Al is a really big proponent. He's been trying to get me to watch it.
It's a great show, and Justice League, the original cartoons, were good too. They're like a year earlier, and they're all from DC properties. They're part of the DC animated universe, and I think I literally watched that show with like Wikipedia open, because whenever a superhero or villain would show up, I'm like, who the hell was that? I would look up everybody, and it was an excellent, fabulous show. But for some reason, with S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't want to know beforehand. I don't bother looking it up. And it doesn't even occur to me. Like I'm invested in how they do their reveals. I'm invested in that, and it wasn't until well afterwards that I even bothered looking up any of these characters. And I just want to say how amazing it is that they managed to conceal the identity of a actual known published character, actually characters, in this series that has really high profile, has lots of fans who are willing to look up every little detail they can find, but they managed to conceal it without doing any of the stupid things that recent fandoms have had to do. So I'm gonna throw J.J. Abrams under the bus. In Into Darkness, it was obviously Benedict Cumberbatch played Khan. Right. It was a rehash of the I think the second Star Trek movie.
Mm.
Wow, Wrath of Khan. Yes, well, that was really bad. I don't know why my brain farted there. But anyways, yeah, it was a rehash of that. He was playing Khan. I think people thought he might be playing Khan in the beginning, but like in the trailer phase before the movie was released, and they kept telling people, no, it's not Khan, it's not Khan, it's not Khan. They even revealed his character's name, and then of course, if you watch the movie, you find out yes, he is in fact playing Khan. It is like the stupidest, weakest way of concealing character identity in a world where like more and more of our media is built off franchises, and that means more and more of it, like the plots are out there for people to know beforehand. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for 2 years now have developed up a plot that fits pretty damn closely to the actual published histories of the characters they're using, and concealed it perfectly. I want to put my hat goes off to them.
Yeah, I'm not as big as a comic reader as some of the other folks in Non-Productive, so I mean, obviously I watched the Marvel film, so I went to watching the show without really much or at all like previous comic book knowledge of these characters in this world, and I kind of like how I haven't really had to need to read the comics previously to like and understand these characters. I did the same thing. Like I looked up these characters after I finished watching, but like okay, I looked up who Daisy Johnson was in the comics. Like okay, yeah, there's some similarities between her and Sky, but I feel like the show did a really good job as establishing Sky as her own character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and not just a cut paste from a comic book that I would have to like really do research on in order to fully appreciate.
Hey, I gotta be honest. I don't know anything about Quake at all, and I don't necessarily care to. I'm kind of curious. Yeah, sure, but like she stands on her own. She's a character that is interesting because of what happened to her in the series. You'd be okay if you were just a fan of the show, and if you happen to know who that character is, I guess maybe knowing comic book geeks, there's a 50% chance you'd be outraged. Outraged that your favorite character was done poorly, but whatever, who cares? I mean, let's assume that they actually are happy that they get this character on television, and it was pretty damn cool. We are joined by James, driving as dangerously as possible. Hi, James.
James?
Hi, guys. I'm just excited it's Inhumans. I think the coolest thing about this is that they're starting Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe on television. That's all I ever wanted.
That is actually a very good point. I mean, this is... So we know that Inhumans are going to be a big part of Phase 3 because of the ridiculous movie release schedule that they put out. And the fact that, like, a lot of the legwork on establishing that these are a real thing have been done, has started off on this TV show is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I remember people reading like, oh, they're never going to do anything major with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's going to be a little side project that's just going to hold people over until the next movie release where they're going to do all their big reveals and next steps. But yeah, the fact that they're establishing Phase 3 with this, it's really cool. And it's really kind of sets Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like as kind of a major part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe instead of just another side story.
It's a smart use of your assets at very least. If you're like ABC, if you're Disney, then this is a good move, I would say. I still feel like there's going to be people who drag their heels about it, but whatever, they're going to be there no matter what. I wonder if they're going to feel alienated, haha, pun, alienated if they don't know what's going on. Like if they go into the next Marvel movie that they're really excited about, are they gonna like not understand anything because they're not following with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Are they even gonna? Is Disney even going to try to make that a thing? Or like you really should be watching the show, because if not, you're gonna be a little bit confused when we do Black Bolt.
I mean, I think we'll see Inhumans retreaded in a couple of other Marvel Cinematic Universe forums. I certainly think if you're going to have enough people involved power-wise for Civil War, I think the Inhumans are already going to need to be kind of a thing. So I think we'll get some retreading, but I definitely think the experience will be enriched if you're watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So you should watch it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes. All right, so let's continue going on with the story that we have so far. Cal, is introduced to his daughter. He's happy that he's going to have the best day ever by killing as many people as possible, or at least the people who cross him. You want to go right into like the next major awesome thing? Do you want to talk about Ward and Sky's showdown, or do we want to talk about Coulson and Cal's showdown?
I think Ward and Sky's is more interesting.
Really? I don't know about that. All right, so yeah, Ward and Sky. Basically, Ward keeps trying to play out the fact that he is Sky's guardian angel, that she just doesn't know how good she has it with him. Very, very weird and abusive. And I think it's pretty awesome that Sky did what everybody screams at the final girl to do in a horror movie: just shoot the bastard. Like, I think that's awesome. I feel like people throw Sky under the bus because she was a very annoying character in her introduction. Like, she was like everything bad about a character on television. She was like, I'm a hacker, and I'm young and inexperienced, and I got a sarcastic way about me. Those are all the things you would do to a character if you wanted people to hate them. But she broke out of a lot of those things and showed that she knew how to, handle herself.
Yeah, I know. People were concerned or kind of rolling their eyes, like, oh, the other foot's gonna drop, and then they're gonna go forward with the whole entire Sky Ward relationship, and it's gonna be really crappy. But no, she just pulls out the gun and just shoots him. And like, just reading the reactions, I know even like people that have been vehemently against Sky, they were like, holy crap, Sky's my favorite now. and they were like, yes, Sky, yes. And just I
like how
really...
Ward was more surprised than anybody. Like, Ward's like, what
How
the
could
hell?
you do that to me?
Well, I'm your male lead. Yeah, that was good. I feel like I feel like I kind of like the fact that what Robo May, Evil May, like Bizarro World May, and Ward end up like together in what I can only imagine is going to be like this great side episode, like just going to be like this fanfic about May and Ward and their dysfunctional relationship.
Yeah, the really weird theory that I've read, which could be possible, is that they're going to fix the mask thing on 33's face, and Ward's going to try to turn her into look like Sky.
Oh, that's awful.
Just like, if they really wanted to make Ward even creepier than he is now, some people was like, yeah, if they do this,
that would be it. I can't think of anything else that would make Ward creepier other than that.
Yeah, it's pretty awful. So let's imagine that they're not doing that. They're not trying to make Ward creepier, because so far, this is a bad episode for Frank. I'm siding with a lot of bad people. So far, I feel like Ward did a lot this season to redeem himself. Not redeem. Redeem is a very strong word. Like, he did good by Coulson a lot, even though he's still horrible. And I feel like they're probably not going to just quit on that. I feel like they're going to keep trying to develop him. Like, I'm assuming that Ward's family, the Wards, aren't dead.
They're all dead, aren't they?
I don't know if they are. I feel like that would be sort of anticlimactic. What would you do with this character is a better question I'm going to ask. What do you think's going to happen with Ward and Robo May?
I don't know. Matt, you go first.
Good contribution, James. All right, Matt, you're on the bus.
I mean, I will say they still kind of have set things, the whole entire Ward murdering his family. It's still pretty ambiguous at the moment. I know, like, the last we heard of it, like, they say, they found evidence that the confession, quote-unquote, was fabricated, and how, like, this whole entire scene might have been fabricated. And then, like, they're still investigating that more, but that was, like, a few episodes ago. But as far as direction that they want to go, I feel like Ward and 33 are going to become... I feel like they're going to be Hydra now. So, and I guess maybe Ward will just maybe go along with it, like with 33 trying to be like remake Hydra or try to keep Hydra together.
I'm pretty sure
he
Ward is going to be the leader of this relationship between him and 33.
Yeah, that's true.
33 was so like, I need a leader now, someone to tell me what to do. I speak in a monotone. All right, so the reason why this is confusing is that the other part of this thing I wanted to talk about was Coulson and Whitehall, or I should say Cal, Coulson, and Whitehall. So we get this awesome scene where Whitehall, who I can absolutely irredeemable, wonderful job of acting, because this guy is just sort of punch him in the mouth. But Kyle MacLachlan's character, the Doctor, finally tracks him down, has this evil, wicked look on his face, smiles as he's like, I'm going to pummel you to death with my bare hands, and it's going to take forever. And Whitehall's got his gun and his near immortality and says, all right, well, we could try this. And what does Coulson do? The bastard.
Shoots him in the back.
He is the king of stealing kills.
Well, hey man, Coulson said when he met the first Koenig, he's a Call of Duty player. Makes sense to me.
Sniping. Oh man! So this makes how many times Coulson just shoots people in the back?
Well, there was Garrett.
Then there's Whitehall, Garrett, Loki,
yeah.
He does shoot him out of nowhere. I think twice? No, once. I don't know if in any of his appearances in like the previous Marvel movies that he renowned for doing that. But yeah, that's apparently his MO.
Just shoot him.
Just shoot him when they're not looking, and then occasionally get his ass whipped. The fight between Coulson and Cal, the Doctor, was pretty awesome and awful. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah. I mean, we see once again like that Clark Gregg, he's a legit practitioner of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that whole entire like kind of chokehold that he gets Cal into, that's pretty legit advanced move. So, and I'm pretty sure Clark Gregg did that by himself. So Clark Gregg continues to be awesome.
I like the idea that he did that by himself, as it wasn't even like part of the shot that they were planning on getting. Colin MacLachlan was like, "What is happening?"
But I mean, Cal also shows he's no slouch himself, and bloodies Coulson up pretty badly. So I wonder if there's more than Cal than we see. I don't think they've established that he's inhuman, but the fact that he's able to kill like soldiers with just a scalpel and just like pummel Coulson until he's bleeding profusely, I feel like he's either some kind of like powered himself or some kind of secret soldier, or maybe he just is powered by hate so much that he is on the level of like Captain America in terms of like strength, like near peak human strength.
James, did you have something you wanted to say?
I was going to say, I think he's just smart and angry. And I feel like that's a really bad combination.
So we don't know how much of the comic books they're taking for this, but we do know that Mr. Hyde, I don't believe he's an Inhuman, but that might not mean that they're going to stick with that for the cinematic universe. It may just be easier to make some characters Inhuman. But he is a superpowered individual from some sort of chemical experiment. Believe it or not, his origin has a lot to do with Donald Blake, who is basically the secret identity, the rarely used secret identity of Thor. Dr. Donald Blake, you know, the guy, he's got a cane, and he hits the cane on the ground and it turns into a hammer. That's an origin they don't really play with much in the cinematic universe. But yeah, that's so there's some history there. So I'm not sure if he's like another like science experiment gone wrong villain, or if he actually is going to be turned full Inhuman. But yeah, he definitely has like berserker strength and like no moral compass, very a sociopathic one. And I think finally we get a reason why Skye should hate her father after seeing him beat the crap out of her surrogate father. I think
she's not able to shoot him. I mean, because I think in his own way, I mean, maybe a little creepy, but in his own way, in the same episode, you know, and I'm sure you've discussed it already, he's been kind of sweet. I mean, in a creepy way. But I think it's a little, you know. My wife's here in the car with me. She doesn't agree.
Oh, good.
I think like it's clear it's clear he cares about her, like
Yes.
in a way where he would never hurt her. Now, hurting everyone she cares for is still obviously wrong. But
That's on the
I don't
table.
know. Yeah, that is definitely on the table for him.
I can't bring myself to absolutely hate this guy. I mean, at the best, I'm going to use Matt's excuse to get me out of this and say, compared to the other villains we've had this season, he isn't that bad, and that's probably what I'm experiencing. But
I think
understand
that's my biggest sadness about this whole exchange with him and Whitehall and Coulson is that Whitehall's dead. We don't have this like incredibly evil villain to tote him up against.
So my
now
question.
Now I have to look at him as the main villain.
My question is this: do you think Whitehall is actually dead? Of any of the characters we face that seem to have died, it seems like Whitehall would be the one that maybe makes it out somehow.
I mean, I feel like we pretty clearly saw him shot. I think he also is probably going to have something to do with the Agent Peggy Carter series. So I don't think it's the last we've seen of him playing the character, but I think I do think that this is the last time we've seen him on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think he is dead. I think they're with him. They're killing the real Hydra plot line, and I think they're moving towards Inhumans.
That's a major if, because I mean, ultimately, some Inhumans will act somewhat human, but that's really upping the ante for effects and stuff. Well, maybe that's what maybe that's what they think is necessary for the series, because a lot of the complaints you hear from people would be like, "Oh, there's no heroes or there's no villains on that show." It's just, which isn't fair, but maybe they're like, "All right, we're gonna have to start budgeting for more special effects."
I think what we saw with the Obelisk was a very localized event.
Yeah, it definitely was.
And I mean, for those of you who are watching, we haven't really gotten there yet, but I mean, we saw at the end, the tease was that there was another Obelisk out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it might be whoever has that Obelisk is moving towards another larger scale event, right?
Right. Or it could just be like something that there's like a dozen of. They may have so many of them every time. Aha. I feel like all right. So Mac kind of got we dealt with Mac. We dealt with the Doctor. We dealt with Whitehall, but we haven't, and we even dealt with Fitz and Simmons. But Sky herself, eventually, Sky and Raina.
But either found more, but still.
All right, that was weird. I don't even know if he's aware he's out there. I'll mute him for a minute. So yes, we Sky and Raina are both in the tunnels underneath this ancient alien city, and they're ready to become Inhumans. That entire sequence, from Trip setting up his rustic World War II bombs, down to them getting into the chamber that's sealing off before the obelisk releases the mists. I feel like that's some of the best pacing we've seen in the show. Interesting, like timing, the lighting, everything about this made you feel like you were in a horror movie or like you were reaching a climax, which a lot of shows don't handle well. This did it really it was a good job of doing it, but ultimately when we got everyone in one room and the effectively the bomb goes off, I don't know how I felt about it. Everybody said that this was like an amazing episode, and this changes everything, and it raises everything, it raises the bar. But I felt a little, I think partly because it only affected 3 people directly, I feel like it wasn't as significant as I thought it would be. What do you guys think?
I could see
you want to go,
where
Matt? Do you want me to go?
Oh, are you back, James? You can go.
I am. Oh, okay. I obviously was not disappointed by this. I mean, we all kind of watched the episode together, and you guys saw me freaking out. I mean, I really liked it for a couple of reasons. One, I got exactly what I wanted. I got a really great climactic moment that affected that affected some of our characters. We got a good character death. I'm sorry, Trip. I like you, but you're on another show. You don't have time. And I just what's game changing about it. Maybe what's game changing about it, and why I'm so excited about it is it's saying we're kicking in here in the cinematic universe on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's what's so game changing about it. It's really bringing superpowered people to television, which is something Marvel hasn't done and DC's kicking butt at. So, that's what I think is game changing about it. Maybe, Frank, from your perspective, as far as like a physical piece of media without any external effects or existence on it, in the landscape of television and movies today, maybe it's not that exciting, but I think it is, and I think it's for a lot of reasons. It's very exciting.
For me personally, I could see from both sides. I understand, like with Frank, it was kind of a localized area. It only affected 3 people, and it's not something that affected the whole entire universe. But I think it's really cool that superpowers are coming into the show, and I just like the whole entire sequence of events with S.H.I.E.L.D. Having the first thing S.H.I.E.L.D. sees after her kind of like awakening to her powers is seeing a friend die or dead in front of her.
Right.
And it kind of really sets the tone of how S.H.I.E.L.D. has to deal with her powers now. I feel like it's very much the Spider-Man with great power comes great responsibility moment for S.H.I.E.L.D., where she now has this ability, like she doesn't know it yet, but I think eventually, I'm pretty sure she's going to find out what exactly happened down there. It's like, I have these powers now, but this was the cost. This is something that will always be, this is something that will always have to carry the burden of.
Mm-hmm.
And considering Trip's relationship with the rest of the team, Trip was pretty much everybody's friend on the team. And there was sort of the kind of thing between him and Simmons. And I feel that's going to add a new dynamic to the team chemistry. And I think there's going to be some tension between S.H.I.E.L.D. and everybody else because she's clearly different. And the reason why she's different also caused one of their fellow agents and their friend to die in the line of duty.
Yeah, I think you both kind of hit it. I have hopes on where this is going, and I do enjoy where we came, how we got here. I don't know, they're the best parts of this show are the character moments, and we had a decent amount in this episode, but I'm really at this point I'm not sure where they're going next, but I feel like I was the same way at the start of the season. So I'm curious, and I'm looking forward to it. One last thing I think I want to talk about before we're kind of over, but one last thing I want to talk about is my favorite part of this episode, and I think we could all go through our favorite parts. My favorite part was Trip and Konings discussing. Well, pretty much the Konings just messing with Trip and all of us as an audience about who they are and what's the deal with them. The constant references of batteries and cooling down and being robots. Oh, it's so good. I could just watch an entire episode dedicated to them screwing with Trip.
For my favorite episode, I will say that I kind of actually really enjoyed the scene with the Mists and S.H.I.E.L.D. and Reina gaining their powers. I thought it was some really neat special effects. I'm curious to see what Reina actually is. We see a close-up of her eye and around her face, and like it is either spines, whiskers, something growing out of her. She's clearly become not human, period. So I'll be curious to see what she's at. And like I mentioned before, I like how S.H.I.E.L.D. Seeing Trip encased in the stone is the first thing she sees. But I also like the first bit of her power, like how the series ends with her releasing her special ability of quakes, and that's kind of confirming altogether that she is Daisy Johnson. So I thought that was just a neat sequence of events, a good way to wrap up the wrap up the episode.
James in Darkness.
I think my
Finally.
I think my favorite part.
Was when your wife
I don't
was
know.
better at lighting than you were.
Wow, I am in a car driving. Production has to take care of everything at this point.
Oh, I see.
It's tough. I want to say the same scene as Matt, but actually, I think it might be showing in this episode Fitz and Simmons working together again, like they used to. Like I feel like that's a plot line. While I enjoyed their distance, I didn't want that to be forever, because of how close they were, and they think that their distance for forever in the show would have, I think, done more harm than good. So I think it's that. I think seeing them work together again and seeing Fitz really, I think this episode proves it was as much a proving ground for Fitz as it was for other characters, with him setting the bombs and going off on his own. And, I'm going to keep with the theme of our hangout with all the Fitz love.
That's right.
That's true.
All right. Well, we are wrapping up our last show for this
Mid-season?
season, mid-season, whatever. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. We do have Peggy Carter coming up pretty soon. Does anyone know exactly when that's going to be?
January.
The internet knows.
Tuesday the 6th.
All right, cool. So in a couple of weeks, we will probably come back for our hangouts for that, because I can't wait to watch that show. I hope there's more Whitehall and more punching him in the mouth, even though he's in prison most of this time.
Yeah.
All right, well, something. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you get more of these wonderful hangout videos. And in the comments, post suggestions on other series you'd like us to talk about, and if you'd like to guest on our show, because why the hell not? We'll do that.
Yes, we will.
All right. Enjoy your holiday breaks, guys and gals out there in internet land, and we will see you soon.